Including the member from Edmonton, West Squewen, was at We Day. Prime Minister Stephen Harper hosted We Day at a reception.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Oh, I'm sorry, we're splitting. Leeds Grenville, I'm sorry, please.
Does the Prime Minister see a conflict of interest in taking part in the Cabinet decision to award this $900 million sole source contract to his friends at the We Charity?
The honourable minister.
Mr. Chair, the non-partisan public service made a clear recommendation that this was the organization able to provide this service in the timeline needed. We accepted their recommendation.
Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
One of the charity's co-founders made a donation to the Prime Minister's electoral campaign. Does the Prime Minister see the conflict of interest in taking part in the decision to award this sole source contract worth $900 million to his donors?
The honourable minister.
Mr. Chair, first of all, our focus is going to be on delivering for Canadians, including the most vulnerable and impacted disproportionately, including students. Yesterday, the Parliamentary Finance Committee passed a motion supported by all parties for this information to be available. We will work to ensure that information is available. When it comes to the recommendation of it was made by the public service. We accepted their public service. When it comes to the ethics investigation, we will work with independent officers.
Go ahead. Oh, there we go.
Mr. Chair, during the last Ethics Commissioner's investigation into the Prime Minister, bearing his name with the number 2 beside it, which is the reason because there have been multiple ethics investigations into this Prime Minister, the Commissioner found that 9 individuals identified themselves as having information that would further the investigation. They were not able to testify as witnesses because they were shielded when the Prime Minister invoked Cabinet confidence. Will he commit to this House that he will not invoke Cabinet confidence during the 3rd investigation into his failure to follow the Act?
The honourable minister.
Mr. Chair, as we have always done since taking office, is work with independent officers of Parliament. When it comes to the Ethics Commissioner, we have always complied and made ourselves available. That was a clear difference between our government and the previous government under Stephen Harper. They continuously undermined independent officers of Parliament. Clearly, we see that taking place now. We will work with the Ethics Commissioner to ensure the information is available, and we will continue to ensure that we are here to support Canadians. That is our priority and remains our focus.
Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes. A brief question, please.
Mr. Chair, the minister's statement is not true. I quote the report. During this examination, 9 witnesses informed our office that they had information they believed to be relevant, but that could not be disclosed. According to them, this information would reveal a confidence of the Queen's Privy Council. Will they waive the confidence in this case, unlike the last time?
The honourable minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again, it should be noted that when it comes to what the member is referring to, the Prime Minister actually waived solicitor-client privilege for the period in question, including Cabinet confidence. This has never taken place and surely would not have happened under the Conservatives. It surely wouldn't have happened under Stephen Harper. We will always work with our independent officers. That's what we do on this side of the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Projects will not be tolerated. Get out now or risk the consequences.
Channel report. Well, a famous guy said, "Don't give me the details, just tell me when they're done." I completely, wholeheartedly disagree. I am all about the details, and in the details, you find out what's really going on. And here's some details from Secretary Pompeo.
Australia and Canada have suspended their extradition treaties with the territory. I leave on Monday for a quick trip to the United Kingdom and to Denmark, and I'm sure that the Chinese Communist Party and its threat to free peoples around the world will be high on top of that agenda. We'll certainly take time to discuss the UK's commendable decision to ban Huawei gear from its 5G networks and phase out the equipment from its existing networks. The UK joins the United States and now many other democracies in becoming clean countries, nations free of untrusted 5G vendors. In the same way, Many major telecom companies like Telefonica, Telco Italia, and NTT have become clean carriers. After my London stop, I'm equally excited to meet with my counterparts from the Kingdom of Denmark. It'll be a wonderful trip. The United States has a Huawei announcement of our own today. The State Department will impose visa restrictions on certain employees of Chinese technology companies like Huawei that provide material support to regimes engaging in human rights violations and abuses globally. The last note on China. On Monday, for the first time, we made our policy on the South China Sea crystal clear. It's not China's maritime empire. If Beijing violates the international law and free nations do nothing, then history shows that the CCP will simply take more territory. That happened in the last administration.
Flamborough-Glenbrook.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be splitting my time with the honourable member from Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan. Chair, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, have bought up most of the cobalt mines in the Democratic Republic of Congo in their quest to dominate the lithium battery industry. UNICEF estimates that 40,000 children are laborers in the DRC. What measures has the government taken to protect the human rights of the children forced to extract this cobalt?
Honourable Minister.
Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for the very important question. Mr. Speaker, as the member knows well, and as this House knows well, human rights is a core pillar of our foreign policy, Mr. Speaker. And everywhere around the world where we can stand up and speak up for people who have been victim of violation of human rights, we will stand up and we will speak up for them, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Flamborough-Glenbrook.
Well, on two previous occasions, Speaker, I've questioned the government in regards to human rights violations by the Chinese Communist Party in China and Hong Kong, and I've only received expressions of varying degrees of concern. So I'm thankful that the government actually rescinded the extradition treaty with Hong Kong. Could the government tell us what other steps they are taking to assist 300,000 Canadians in Hong Kong and open the door to Hong Kong refugees?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for the very important question. It may complement not only, Mr. Speaker, we suspended the extradition treaty, but we stopped the export and sensitive items to Hong Kong, Mr. Speaker. We updated our travel advisory, and tonight I will have a five-eyes call with my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, to explore with colleagues and the international community the additional steps we can take. And the Prime Minister has been clear, Mr. Speaker, that we will be looking at other measures, including immigration, and we'll come back to this House in due course.
Honourable member for Flamborough-Glenbrook.
I'm certain that those who are refugees would like that exploration to be done expeditiously. What measures are being taken to reassess our relationship with the People's Republic of China, given new evidence from Associated Press of forceful population limitations being imposed on Uyghurs by the CCP, especially given these kinds of acts are indicators of genocide?
The honourable Minister.
Speaker, just to go back to the previous question of the member, I can point to Chris Patten, the former governor of Hong Kong, Mr. Speaker. We said that he was expressing support for the measures taken by Canada and the leadership by Canada when it comes to Hong Kong. When it comes to the Uyghur question, Mr. Speaker, we are deeply disturbed. And we should all be disturbed in this House about the allegation and the reports that we have seen. We will continue to work with the international community.
The honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am also deeply disturbed, but we should be clear that our thoughts and our prayers are not enough. Is the government prepared to recognize that Muslims in China are facing an ongoing genocide?
The honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I would say we went well beyond words, Mr. Speaker. We took actions and the world noticed when it came to Taiwan, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to Hong Kong, Canada not only spoke out but was front and center in taking actions to stand up and speak.
The honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Uyghurs specifically, is the government prepared to recognize that Uyghur Muslims in China face an ongoing genocide?
The honourable Minister.
Let me be very clear with Canadians in this House. We are deeply disturbed by the reports that we have seen. We are consulting with the international community. Canada will continue, as it always been, to speak up and stand up for human rights around the world, Mr. Speaker, and that will be the case when it comes with the Uyghurs. I've raised this issue both privately and public with the Chinese authorities, Mr. Speaker.
Well, member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
If the minister is not prepared to use the word genocide, will he recognize that what we're reading about constitutes crimes against humanity under international law?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me be clear again. I will answer very clearly to the member. Like I said, we are deeply disturbed by the reports, like everyone in this House should be, Mr. Speaker. We are consulting with the international community. We will speak up. We will stand up for human rights with the Uyghurs, with all the ethnic minorities in China, which are...
The Honourable Member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
We all feel those feelings, but feeling disturbed is not enough. I asked about genocide. I asked about crimes against humanity. Let me ask one more important question. Is the government prepared to impose Magnitsky sanctions against those involved in gross violations of human rights in Xinjiang, in Hong Kong, or elsewhere in the People's Republic of China? Yes or no, Minister?
The Honourable Minister.
The answer will be simple. Yes, we are considering all the options when it comes to standing up for human rights, Mr. Speaker. Like I said to the member many times, and I welcome him, we should speak with one voice, Mr. Speaker. This is not a political issue. This is about fundamental values and principles that Canadians who are watching at home are sharing with us. There's no politics in that, Mr. Speaker. Canada will stand up and speak up for human rights around the world.
The Honourable
Statement gives significant support to ASEAN leaders who have declared that the South China Sea disputes must be resolved through international law. Not might makes right. What the CCP does to the Chinese people is bad enough, but the free world shouldn't tolerate Beijing's abuses as well.